bring some of our wonderful artists to you. Oh, I'm Lindsay from Musicopia. You may have heard of us. So we're so excited to be here and to be joined by so many schools. We have the Edmunds School here. Where's Edmunds? Ferguson. Hi, see you up there. Duckrey. And the Meade School. Wonderful. Well, I'm so excited to introduce to you Mr. Kip Rosser. Kip works with Musicopia and is a very, very talented thereminist. He has an extremely exciting program for you this morning. And followed by Kip's performance, we're going to have a special performance by the Musicopia Drumline, which has students from the Meade School. So without further ado, Mr. Kip Rosser.
This is a theremin. This is a picture of what I'm looking at. You get to see what I see. All these tiles and things like this are what I'm facing. You get to see the backside, but it's called a theremin. It was invented almost 100 years ago by a Russian scientist named Lev Sergeyevich Theremin. We call him Leon Theremin now. He lived almost 100 years. Lived to be 90 years old. As I said, he was a Russian scientist. Now, if you look at the two pictures, the one up in the middle and the one on the other end, you can see what a theremin used to look like back in the 1920s. It was very big. It had the same antenna sticking up and the same loop. So, Lev Sergeyevich then, in 1919, came up with this musical instrument. It was the very first fully electronic musical instrument. It was the first amplified musical instrument. It was the grandfather of all synthesizers. And when people saw what he was doing, because it's the only instrument ever invented that you play without touching, when people saw this, they freaked out. The level of out-freakage was very, very high. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. You have to understand the world that Leon Theremin was in. From the period of 1900 to 1930 was one of the most unbelievable periods in history of all the Western industrial world. Everything was changing: science, technology, music, and art. It was a phenomenal time. They had no DVDs, they had no iPods, they had no computers, they had no television, they had no CD players, they had radio. And the radio was still new. The radio itself was still having inventions made to improve it. In the world of music, composers like Igor Stravinsky changed the way music was written and the way people heard it. People were so horrified by the music that he wrote that they actually started a fight during one of his concerts. In the world of writing, writers like Gertrude Stein and James Joyce were writing novels that totally broke all the rules. They were some of the most bizarre novels you've ever read. In the world of art, people like Pablo Picasso and Georgia O'Keeffe totally changed the way people painted. Everything was changing. In the world of science, Albert Einstein was just coming out with his theory of relativity, which would change everything in the world of physics and science. Into this came Leon Theremin with an instrument that's played without being touched. And everybody just went nuts, including the man you see in the middle. His name was Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. He's now called Lenin. He was like the president of Russia at the time. And when he saw the theremin, he knew what he was going to do. He had an amazing idea. He was going to send Leon Theremin all over the world to play music with this amazing instrument. And everyone would see how much better Russian technology and Russian science was. And it worked. Leon Theremin toured the world with symphony orchestras, and he became incredibly famous. You can see two posters, one at the Symphony Hall in Boston and one in France. He became absolutely world famous. Everybody wanted to see this amazing, amazing instrument. And luckily, you're going to see Leon Theremin himself play. 86 years ago, one of the only pieces of film that exists of Leon Theremin himself playing the instrument. I'm going to show it to you right now. What he's playing is just a small excerpt. I want you to remember this. A small excerpt from a piece of music called The Swan. Does anybody here play the cello? Have you ever tried to play the Swan yet? That's something that most cello teachers give to their students. Sooner or later, you're going to end up playing the Swan. It's from The Carnival of Animals by Camille Saint-Saëns. And here is Leon Theremin in 1928 in New York City playing a little bit of the Swan for you. theremin looks a little different from this one, but two features of that big loop and this rod are still the same. About a year later, a wonderful woman from Russia named Clara Rockmore came to America. She was a violinist. You can see her with her violin up there on the top left. Something happened to her hand. She injured it right before she was to play her concert. She was a child genius. She started playing violin at 3 years old. And once she couldn't play the violin anymore, somehow or another she met Leon Theremin. And when she saw this instrument, she became immediately fascinated. And she went on within a year to become the greatest theremin player that has ever lived. She is still considered the greatest theremin player that's ever lived today. You can see a picture of her in the middle over her theremin. And I also have a little bit of a live film of Clara Rockmore playing the same music. Remember this music, The Swan, from Camille Saint-Saëns' Carnival of Animals. This is Clara Rockmore when she was much older, in about the 1970s. And you can hear the difference between what Leon Theremin just played and listen to Clara Rockmore. Now, as I said, the world of music was changing very, very fast in the 1920s. And Leon Theremin knew that you could take the theremin and just go like this. Make all kinds of noise, but he also knew that that would really disturb people because it was the first amplified instrument. It was so loud that it could be louder than a symphony orchestra. And what really happened occasionally was that it was so loud that when he turned it on, like, bong, like people would faint. They were so scared of it, they would actually faint because it was louder than anything that they had ever heard. But music itself was changing, and you just heard a little bit of The Swan. Now think about this. Composers, many times, want you to think of something when you're listening to their music. Camille Saint-Saëns wrote The Carnival of Animals, and each movement of his symphony was a different animal. Elephant, turtle, the swan, dinosaur bones, kangaroos. And a lot of other composers wrote music that they wanted you to think of the ocean, or they wanted you to think of the forest, or they wanted you to think of primitive people dancing around a fire. And they wrote music to try to convey this. So I would like to play for you a piece that will help you use your imaginations even more. It's still by Camille Saint-Saëns, and it's from The Carnival of Animals. And it's called, well, how many of you have ever been to an aquarium? You've seen all the fish. Good. So you know what an aquarium is like. Now think about this. If you were a composer, how would you write music that makes people think of an aquarium? Well, Camille Saint-Saëns tried to do it. This is what he came up with. works. See the big diagram up there? I have no idea what it says. If you can look up there, you can see one hand way over near the rod. This rod controls only the pitch, that is how high or low the note is. If I'm close to this rod, it's high up, and if I'm further away, it's low. That's because there's an invisible electromagnetic field around this antenna. When my hand enters that field, which is right there, it changes the electricity inside the box. Now the loop on the left-hand side controls only the volume, that is loud and soft. I can turn it on and off, or I can go from soft to loud. The further away I get from the loop, the louder it will be. Or the softer it'll be if I get closer. So all I do is turn the volume on and off. Move my other hand. Now, there's a little more going on than just that, than just these two electromagnetic fields. I'll do it really fast. Can you see in the circuit board the three squares with the circles in them? Everybody see those? The one on the left is what opens and closes the volume circuit. The one on the extreme right is hooked to what's called an oscillator. To oscillate means to vibrate. The one in the middle, or sort of the middle, is also hooked to an oscillator. Now, I'm going to take this wire off, and you tell me what you hear. Hear anything? That's because both oscillators are locked at a frequency that's so high that we can't even hear it. The one that stays locked is the one on the right. The one in the middle is allowed to change. So when my hand enters that field, instead of them both being locked at that high frequency, I enter the field, and that middle one drops in frequency. Then, let's see, what is 5 minus 3? 5 minus 3. Just call it out. Right. That's what happens inside this box. Those two oscillators do math. And they take that really high frequency, let's just say it's 10. And then they take that frequency that changes, let's just say it's 7. And they go 10 minus 7 equals, and that 3, that frequency of 3, goes all down the wires and comes out as sound. It's called the heterodyne principle, which means different forces. Two different forces combine to make a third force, and that's what you hear. But us thereminists know there's another word for all this. You know what that word is? Magical. Theremin is magical. Really? Come on, how magical do you have to get? I'm not touching anything and it still makes a noise. Let's see, I know, we can put, the science is kind of boring. How about this? Everybody know what a hamburger is? Okay, we're going to look at this like hamburgers. So, remember I said that one on the right is fixed at a frequency. It never changes, right? So the thing that never changes is a Big Mac. Big Mac never changes. 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. It has to be that, or it's not a Big Mac. If you take the sesame seeds off the bun, it's not a Big Mac. If you take off the special sauce, it's not a Big Mac. So the Big Mac is 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Never changes. The one that can change is the double Whopper with cheese at Burger King. Because at Burger King, you can have it your way. You can have it without cheese, you can have it without lettuce, you can have it pickle, you can have it with more mayonnaise, you can have it without mustard, you can have it with ketchup and maple syrup. They don't care because it's Burger King. So what happens if you subtract a double Whopper with cheese from a Big Mac? Big Mac minus the double Whopper with cheese. You get a new third force. And you would think that it would be the bacon double cheddar ranch at Wendy's. You would think that Big Mac minus double Whopper cheese equals bacon double cheddar ranch at Wendy's, but that's not magical. That's just hamburgers. So what happens when you put magic into it, when you say Big Mac minus the double Whopper with cheese, it really equals the super Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity Pancake Breakfast at IHOP. Why? Why? Because it's magical. Any English teachers out there? I don't know if I spelled magical correctly. let's get back to music a little bit. I want to talk to you about music because I'm a member of Musicopia, and we're all about music. I come and play music. How many of you like to listen to music? How many of you like to play music? That play it on instruments? A lot of you. I would say there's nothing like it. Did you know that the music that you're listening to now, that all the songs that you like now, probably when you get to be a grown-up, you're still going to like those songs and you'll remember them. There are songs that I used to listen to when I was a little boy, and if I hear them now, it makes me think of things like when I was a little boy. Like on a summer day, there's a song I'm going to play for you now that I will bet every single one of you has, if you're a grown-up like me, you grew up on this song, and if you are a student from all these grades, that you're growing up with this song now. And when I first heard it, I loved that song, and you couldn't get it anywhere. Now you can get it all over the place. And that song just always makes me think of running around on a summer day and being a little boy and having a good time. And I'll bet every one of you knows it. You ready? Just want to make sure that this is set. Here we go. Okay, remember the first slide that said introducing the theremin? Well, that was kind of dry and kind of boring. What it really should have said was this: Attack of the Mutant Theremin! It really should have said Attack of the Mutant Theremins. Why? Because the theremin is a mutant instrument. When Leon Theremin was inventing it, he based it on two other inventions. One was a burglar alarm that had an electromagnetic field, and if you came too close to the field, the alarm would go off. And the other was an instrument that he invented that used to measure the density of different gases. And then he discovered that using those same electromagnetic fields, he could create a mutant instrument like the theremin. But there's another real reason why the theremin is also a mutant. That's because about 60 years ago, the people who make movies in Hollywood discovered that the theremin can make this sound. And you know what makes that sound. They started using the theremin in movies for aliens and monsters and stuff. So, I would like to show you a little clip of a theremin being used in a really weird science fiction movie called It Came from Outer Space. And in this, you never got to see the aliens. The aliens were these weird energy forces, and they would get into a person, and like I'm talking like now, if the alien got into me, it would make me talk like this, and I would just be sort of like that all the time. And you're going to see this woman is giving this guy, a friend of hers, a ride in the car, and he's been taken over by an alien, but she doesn't know it. And so you'll be able to see how the alien sees her. And you listen for the theremin. You tell me when you hear the theremin. You ready? Get ready. This is too scary. Scary. Now, there's another type of movie that was made. How many of you have ever read a book by Dr. Seuss? Like The Cat in the Hat, Green Egg, Ham? Oh, well, did you know that Dr. Seuss helped make one movie? And the movie was called The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. The 5,000 Fingers refers to piano students. Dr. Terwilliger, Dr. T, is an evil music teacher, and he captures 500 children. 500 children times 10 fingers is 5,000 fingers. And he captures them all, and he wants to make them play this giant piano concerto. And in this movie, the hero of the movie, a little boy named Bart, discovers that Dr. Terwilliger has captured his mother, and he gets the plumber to come and try to help his mother escape. But Dr. Terwilliger catches him, as you'll see. And he tries to hypnotize the plumber. And when they try to hypnotize each other, you'll hear the theremin. Ready?
She doesn't look like a prisoner to me.
But she is, I tell you.
All right, I'll go and ask her. Say, Dr. Terwilliger.
Pretty weird, huh? Yeah. Well, the theremin wasn't just used for these weird, spooky effects. Leon Theremin wanted it to be a member of the orchestra and play beautiful classical music. Today, the greatest theremin player living is named Lydia Kavina. She is Leon Theremin's great niece, and She started, as you can see, way up in the corner. When she was a little girl, when she was just 9 years old, Leon Theremin was an old man by then. He taught Lydia how to play the theremin. And Lydia travels the whole world with orchestras, and she plays classical music. Here's just about 30 seconds of Lydia Kavina. She is now considered to be the best theremin player in the world. For you now is a piece of classical music, and it demonstrates one thing, one characteristic about the theremin that everybody noticed from the time it was invented, is that sometimes it can sound almost like a woman singing. So while I play this piece, if you want to, you can close your eyes and see if you don't think it sounds like a woman singing. Okay? What did you think? Did it sound a little bit like a woman singing to you? Now, here's something else. There's another kind of music that I like, and that's jazz music. I love to play jazz. I'm going to play some jazz for you now. The way I started playing jazz on the theremin was a guy saw me playing classical music, and he said that he was a jazz poet. Jazz poet? What is that? I said, yeah. I like to stand in front of people and recite poetry, like it's jazz. Oh, that'd be cool. So a whole bunch of musicians and I got together. There's trumpet, guitar, and drums, and a mandolin, and a Meade, and this poet. This poet had some pretty weird poetry. I remember one of his jazz poems. He would stand and snap his fingers like that. Like that. And he would say things like this. He'd say, my brain is an iPod. My heart is an iPad. My mother is my iMom. And my father is my iDad. The Kraft macaroni and cheese in my soul is in love with the vampire in my cereal. That poet rates one of these. So now I'd like to play you some jazz. And it's a song. How many of you have ever seen The Wizard of Oz? Then you will know this song. This is a jazz version of a song from The Wizard of Oz. Maybe it's not a jazz song from The Wizard of Oz. This whole thing just went crazy. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. There it is. Here we go. I bet you know it. If there's one message that I have for you today, it's two words: make music. There's nothing like it. You may love to listen to music, and those of you who already play an instrument, I encourage you to keep playing. If you've never played an instrument before, it's like nothing you've ever experienced. Maybe some of you will go on not only to play an instrument, but to write music for instruments. Music is something you can do for your whole life. It's something that can last your whole life. I never get tired of practicing. I never get tired of learning new songs. It's absolutely wonderful to make music. Now, you remember the Swan? Everybody remember that? Oh, I forgot to tell you. You know what one of my wishes was? I was talking to Patrick Urban from the drum line, and we were talking about instruments. And you know what one of my wishes has always been that I could play every single instrument. And I tried to play a trombone for the first time on Saturday. A boy from Connecticut and his mom came to take a lesson on the theremin for me. He's 11 years old, and he plays the trombone, so I taught him theremin, and he taught me a little bit about how to play the trombone. It wasn't very good. It wasn't very good. Now, so I want to play a song before I play the last song about wishing for stuff. And this song was written by a man who was wishing that he could just have the same kind of happiness and joy that he had when he was a kid. The song is called I Wish. You cannot just play the swan. You have to become the swan. Because only by becoming the swan can I face my fear and play the swan. I hope this works. The things I go through for my art.
Let's see why. Doesn't matter.
Keep your fingers crossed. Help me make it through. Help me make it through. I was able to play the swan. You all helped, just by being. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed hearing the theremin, seeing everything. Have a good day.